Last night I sorted my beans, washed them off, made sure that they were all clean, and I soaked them overnight. And then the first thing I did this morning was I just came in and kind of poured that dirty water out and put, clean water in there. It took a few times on each bowl. So I've soaked 2 bowls of beans, and I'm trying to kind of decide of how many I'm going to dehydrate and how many I'm going to can. I'm just kind of eyeballing it. But the first thing I do need to do for the dehydrating of the beans is cook them. And I could have put them on a stove, this morning, and I thought about doing that, but it cooks for a couple of hours. But then I thought, why don't I break out my Instant Pot? That takes 9 minutes. So I have my beans in here, and I'm going to go ahead and pour my water in. I'm going to go ahead and put a little bit of seasoning in here. So this is onion powder. Put some garlic powder in there. And I'm going to put some cumin. Because they are going to be, cooked in here, then they're going to be dehydrated, and I just want them to have, really good flavor. So we'll mix that in, and then I'm going to go ahead and get her started. Make sure the vent is shut, and we're going to pressure cook. The time, I said 10 minutes, but I'm going to do them 15. I changed my mind, just to make sure they're done. All right, there she goes. We wait. Okay, so while that is heating up, I'm going to go ahead and get my canning supplies ready. I've got my jars heating up in my pressure canner behind me. I'm using pint-sized jars, and then I also have another pot over there of boiling water, okay? I have my assembly line kind of lined up here. I have my beans, which these are just soaked beans overnight, tomato sauce, onion powder, garlic powder, chili powder, ground cumin, and salt. And that's canning salt. And actually, if this was just garlic salt, I would totally omit that and just use the garlic salt. But anyway, I have garlic powder, so this is what I'm going with. I've got my towel here and my funnel and my measuring spoons and cup, and we will go ahead and get started. I've got a pretty warm jar here, but let's go ahead and get started, okay? So I have a cup that I'm going to use just to kind of fill up the beans, and I fill these just a little bit over the halfway point. And then we're going to do a 1/4 cup of tomato sauce. Put this back in. Got my paper towel sitting here because it gets so dang messy. And then we do a 1/4 teaspoon of onion powder, 1/4 teaspoon of garlic powder, 1/4 teaspoon of chili powder, 1/4 teaspoon of cumin. And then the salt, we're going to do a 1/2 teaspoon. Okay, and there's that. Then we're going to fill this up the rest of the way with boiling water. It's not so much boiling as it's sitting here, but it was, and it's hot. We're going to fill that up to a 1/4 inch of head space. Okay? I've got a little bit of vinegar here. Keep this on hand. You're going to wipe the rim off. Make sure it's clean. Also, before you even start on your jars, make sure there are no chips on the top, or otherwise they won't seal. So there's that. I've got my lids in hot water over here. I'm going to put that on. Then we're going to put the ring on. I don't necessarily put this ring on really, really tight, and I don't really do it so loose, kind of, like water bathing. I do it kind of in between here, okay? Just kind of finger tight. Like that. Okay, it looks like my beans are done. I went ahead and opened this vent up. My little popper went down. So let's go ahead and get this opened up. Oh yeah. I've got these strained out of the Instant Pot liquid because these need to be cooled down before we can dehydrate them. So I have all these filled, and I'm just going to go ahead and fill them up with boiling water here. And I think I said a 1/4 inch of headspace earlier, but it's actually an inch of headspace, which, is about right there, the bottom line. So we're going to fill these up. I'm just kind of swishing around in there to get the air bubbles out. Okay, giant toothpick. Just a quick tip here, I keep my vinegar in here, and so I just pull that out when I'm canning, and it just makes life so much easier than just doing that big old jug or whatever. So anyway, I'm wiping off the rims now. All lidded up, now they're going in the canner. I have my jars in the canner, and the steam in the back here, I'm waiting for that to go full force here. And once it does, I'm going to let that go for 10 minutes, and then I'll come back. I have to show you guys, do you see this? There's a line here, there's this permanent line that I've burned into my microwave, and I try so hard to, pull this to the side to where it won't hit that. Because once it gets steaming, I can put the lid on there and it can be underneath the microwave. She's going. I'm going to put the timer on for 10 minutes. Alright, my 10 minutes are up. I'm going to put this, I use my tongs because I don't want that steam to burn me. So the cap is on now. I'm going to watch this move up to 10 pounds of pressure. When it comes up to 10 pounds of pressure, I'm going to go ahead and put that on simmer. And we will time this. Once it gets to 10, we'll time it for 75 minutes, because pints go for 75 minutes, 10 pounds of pressure, and quarts go for 90 minutes at 10 pounds of pressure. So once that gets there, I'll set my timer. This canner was Jason's grandma's canner, and I have used the heck out of it. It's a big one. But anyway, so we're at 10 pounds of pressure, and I am going to go ahead and set my timer for 75 minutes. And we'll just keep an eye on it. Don't let that drop below 10 pounds of pressure throughout the whole 75 minutes, because if it goes any below your 10 pounds, you'll have to start all over again. So watch it carefully. These are the beans that I had cooked completely in the Instant Pot, and so they're cooled off now, and I'm going to go ahead and put them in the dehydrator. I'm just pouring them in here. I don't know if you saw my video where I dehydrated the mixed vegetables, frozen mixed vegetables, but I couldn't find the trays for these, and I'm going to use this again. This is cheesecloth, and this will prevent those beans from falling down in the holes. So this is the last little bit here, and like I said, it just turned out to be exactly the perfect amount, and I tell you, God is smiling down. Thank you. Absolutely perfect amount. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and get it plugged in, and these are going to cook for the rest of the evening for sure. Okay, my 75-minute timer went off, so I went ahead and turned off the burner, and the steam has died down, the pressure has died down. I went ahead and pulled this off here. So this is probably still going to be pretty steamy. So I'm going to do it very carefully and do this away from me. They look good. Looks like they all did pretty good here. Maybe one little bit of an overflow. I forgot to put vinegar in my water. I always put a dash of vinegar in there before so your jars don't get cloudy. I think that's probably from this is probably from this spillage. It looks like one of them kind of overflowed a little bit. So I'm going to go ahead and remove these. I've got them all pulled out, and it looks like most of them sealed. I had one ping just a second ago, so that's a good sign. Oh, but there's another one. So anyway, we'll let those sit for 24 hours, and then after that I will wash them up and put them on my shelf. Okay guys, it is the next day. All of my jars sealed except for 2 of them. I'm not real sure why they didn't seal, but that is not that big of a deal to me, because I'm just going to put those into my dehydrator and dehydrate those after I get these cleaned out. Okay, I don't know if I mentioned, but my dehydrator, I can't set a temperature on my dehydrator, and but you want to dehydrate them at 125. Set your temperature at 125 if you have a dehydrator that you can do that on. If not, you know, just kind of keep an eye on it. Mine took about 6 hours to dry. They do crack a little bit. Sometimes, you know, you'll have very few that crack, but sometimes you'll have to where the whole thing cracks. They're not the prettiest bean once you get done, you know, dehydrating them. But it doesn't matter. They still reconstitute just fine. You can throw them into soups and things like that, and they will taste delicious, okay? I mean, if you don't like the looks of them or whatever, you know, make refried beans with them if you want to. But I plan to store these in my pantry. I'm just going to put them in a jar. You can also make like meals in a jar. You can put beans, rice, corn, you know, dehydrated corn, and even dehydrated tomatoes. Have that all in a jar. Set it in your cabinet, your pantry. Whenever you want some taco soup, you're just going to, you know, do your meat and add your chicken broth or, you know, whatever you put in yours. So anyway, I'm going to go ahead and get these cleaned out and jarred up. So my cheesecloth worked out perfectly again, and I don't know if you watched my last dehydrating video, but I'm just going to dump it in here, and then that way I don't have to fuss with this sticking, and then I'll just dump them into my jar like this, okay? So I'm just going to dump them in. Look at that. Easy peasy. So I mentioned that my beans took approximately 6 hours to dry out, and you know, basically it just all depends. There's all kinds of factors of how long it's going to take your beans to dry out, and that includes, you know, everything that you dehydrate. It depends on the humidity outside, the humidity in your house. There's all kinds of factors, like I said. So basically with my beans, I just kept an eye on them, and you'll know that they're dry by the way they feel. Let me see if I can pull one out here. By the way they feel, and when you drop it on the counter, the way it sounds. I don't know if you can hear that. It just kind of pings. It doesn't go like kerplunk. You hear that crack? Those are dry, okay? And so you just kind of keep an eye on them. It could take up to 13 hours for all I know, just depending on how wet the bean was when you put it in there, you know, and like I said, that includes anything that you're going to dehydrate. So just kind of keep an eye on them. I'm going to reuse these for the ones that didn't seal. I'm going to put those back on top and put my beans on. And this is where reusing my lids comes in handy on my dehydrated foods. Okay, these are ones that I've already popped off. I don't use a can opener that has a pointy. I just kind of use the other side that pops it off. But once I get the oxygen absorber in there, or I could even put my vacuum seal attachment on here and take all the air out, and that would seal it also. So anyway, aren't those pretty? We have soaked beans, cooked beans, dehydrated beans, canned beans for long-term storage and for easy grab meals in a jar. You know, this is just for taco soup. You can add your broth to it, your meat, or whatever, however you want to do it. So, but we have that. We have our dried beans here that you can just add to, you know, your soups, or you can just heat these up, put some ham in it, and make some cornbread, and there's a meal. And then these are your chili beans. You can just pop that open, pour it in a pan, heat it up, and you're good to go, or eat them cold. Either way, it doesn't matter. So anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. It is a little time consuming to do these things, but it's worth it in the end. You will have your pantry filled up before you know it. You guys have a great day. God bless. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye. Okay, now we're going to grab the stick and we're going to stir up the beans. Okay, yes, here we go. Here we go. Stir them up. Now we're going to pull the stick out and we're going to wipe that clean. Okay, so now we're going to put the lids on the jars. And the jars are right here.